Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello everybody.
Watcher.
Still cold.
It's freezing.
It is actually freezing. I'll give you that. It's a bit chilly today.
It's not blinking. I know why. I've got explanation as well, frankly, but you're not going to like it.
What?
Well, I'm a lot less insulated than you nowadays, you see. What with my my New Year's resolution, I've been losing about a kilo a week since New Year, apart from last week where I put on a kilo because it was Mum's birthday and we went out to a tapas restaurant and went a bit mad. But yes, so I'm more svelte and don't really have as much layers underneath the skin. I see.
Is that mosting?
Hmm?
Mosting, is that
mosting?
Called? Yeah, moaning but boasting at the same time.
Mosting. Humble bragging, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing? I don't know. Yes.
Anyway, yes.
So no.
Okay.
I don't want a hat.
You don't need that.
My head's
You'll get too warm.
My head's too hot now, yeah. Anyway, yes, I'm going to talk about... Oh, actually, I did want to say thank you to everyone who put comments on the YouTube for our 200th show there. I asked if people had been with us and how long and when did they find us. And we got
people still from the Virgin World days.
Yeah. People who've been with us a very long time and we are grateful.
And people who names haven't cropped up for a while as well.
Also, we had someone pointed out that you can find the original EverQuest. It's called Project 1999.
We know.
It's an emulator
thing. We do
yeah.
have an EverQuest video, which is actually our most successful video.
Yeah, lots of people in the comments to there pointing out Project 1999 as well.
About 2 a week.
Yeah, so yes, you can find that original first. But then that sort of led me on to start analysing my own nostalgia and thinking that perhaps I've changed and perhaps 1999 EverQuest 1 isn't really what I want anymore these days anyway. So perhaps we do change, perhaps we do grow and learn. Anyway, thank you for all those comments. That's reassuring. Good to see. We'll keep doing this stuff. I mean, there's not much you can do to stop us, to be honest.
No, actually, there's very little you can do. You can stop subscribing, but we'll still do it.
I know. If it was
you'll know we're still doing it. It'll eat on your mind knowing that they're still doing it.
Let's try not to make this an antagonistic thing. I'm going to talk about games. Let's do some what we're playing. Yeah, we were all indulgent last time.
Technically, we got 4 weeks of this.
Yeah, so in the last month, I had a week off work. See, it was that end of the holiday year, and I thought, use up your holidays or lose them. So I had a week off and with nothing much to do really, and I thought I need a big challenge. A bit like walking all the way around Cornwall over the course of 4 years. So I thought I'm going to do
or walking to Brighton.
Eastbourne, thank you. Brighton, 2 days beyond Brighton.
Didn't go quite as far as Hastings then.
No, that's the thing. Dover, I thought would be right next door, but it's about the same distance again to get to Dover from Eastbourne.
That bit of the country's weird.
Yeah. So I thought I'm going to do the entire epic story of Lord of the Rings online.
Have they expanded it since we did?
Yes. Yeah. So the current state of Lord of the Rings Online, they've got to Mordor. The ring has gone in the fire. I think what they did with the Mordor expansion, which is their current thing and hasn't been out that long, but I think what they've done, and I could be making this up, is that they've sort of got to Mordor and then gone straight past the jumping the ring in the fire. I don't know if there's a session play where you get to be Frodo at the ring. Get to be Gollum and bite his finger off or something. Yeah. But I think that they've handled that probably the only way they really could, which was to just not involve the player in that at all, because, he
wasn't involved.
It got a lot
she wasn't involved.
Yeah, there's a lot. It gets a lot of stick for the nature of the early epic story content, which is essentially you following the Fellowship following the hobbits to Rivendell, but always one hill out the way and beyond sight, and fighting off a lot of monsters that never get to attack the Fellowship because you've been doing the hard work all along. It's a sort of way. How do you involve the player in the story of Lord of the Rings when clearly they weren't there? You either make it the player is Frodo, in which case you're talking some sort of single player adventure experience. Or,
that would have been better.
Well, I think there's been a number of games like that out there, including right the way back to that text adventure you were talking about the other time. But so you find yourself doing quite a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. You're visiting Aragorn and Aragorn sending you off to do other stuff because he's a bit busy with hobbits.
Yeah.
And that sort of carries on all the way through Moria, through Lothlorien, Mirkwood, and then down through Dunland, and also. I mean, I made it to the start of the Great River, so I got all the Isengard stuff. I think ever.
I think I got bored in Dunland.
Yeah, Dunland is very boring. It's essentially real sort of make busy hub gameplay. Yeah. And there's some interesting stuff they do with Isengard. That at one point you're actually captured and thrown in the dungeons of Isengard and have to bust out again as part of the story. And then you end up back, once that's all dealt with, you end up back at Lothlorien and finally can follow the Great River south, which is, basically where the Fellowship went. And so in my entire time, and I got a level 75 character, and I played on and off for a number of years in the past, I didn't make it to the end of Fellowship of the Ring. You know,
Yeah.
the first volume out of the 3. I never made it into the Two Towers or the Return of the King content. Now that's all done. Rohan is there. I never made it to Rohan.
Can I make the comment that it does sound like the second and third volumes of the trilogy are awfully rushed?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you get to Rohan and there's this horse combat. Mounted combat was a big thing they were really proud of, and I have no idea what it's like. So I never made it that far. Then there's quite a lot of stuff around Gondor, and you see a lot more of Gondor, because you can actually see all this stuff on the world map when you sort of, zoom out of the map when you're looking, and there's all these zones far to the south that I've never seen that evocative names from all the books and stuff, and I look at all that and think, wow, yeah, I want to see all that, but it's such a big job. I mean, there's Rohan's there, Gondor, Minas Tirith, and there's quite a lot of Mordor now as well. And presumably that takes place after the ring, after the ring's been destroyed. There's presumably some
clean-up work?
There's some sort of Free People's UN peacekeeping clean-up operation going on with all sorts of factions
The orcs didn't just go
allegiances. Away. No. Unlike the Peter Jackson films, it doesn't all just collapse instantly as soon as the ring hits the volcano.
He was big on consequences.
Yes, quite. So there's lots of that to do still. And I don't know, looking at the map of Mordor as on the world map, it looks like they've only done about half of Mordor as well. Apparently, minus Ithil, minus Morgul and Cirith Ungol, the bit with the spider and everything, those aren't in yet.
Okay.
So apparently that's stuff to go in later, or it'd be added at some point, I suppose. But
Was there a license for it?
Well, I don't know, but this is the thing. The current thing they're all getting excited about, and the next big content coming, is Northern Mirkwood and the Lonely Mountain, which is, splat bang in Hobbit territory.
Yeah.
Which always made me wonder, because the big thing was that they had the licence for Lord of the Rings, obviously it's Lord of the Rings Online, but they didn't have the licence for The Hobbit.
But then again, The Hobbit hadn't come out as films at that point.
Well, exactly, but also, I'm not sure why you'd need the licence for The Hobbit anyway, because the events of The Hobbit take place about 60 years before the start of Lord of the Rings.
Locations.
Lord of the Rings Online, yes, locations and NPCs and stuff. All Bjornings are in as a playable race class
true.
now.
Yeah.
And that's definitely Hobbit. They don't show up much in Lord of the Rings at all, I don't think. Anyway, so there's that, all that sort of stuff seems to... It's like they've either just decided, hell, let's just do it anyway. It's not like they're going to sue us. Or,
They're very litigious.
or they've worked something out. I don't know. But anyway, so there's a lot there, and I'm not that fussed about necessarily visiting the Hobbit, and Lonely Mountain and Lake Town and all that. That'd be nice, but I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and it's always been a real kicker to me that I never got the Ring in the Fire. Lord of the Rings Online. We all signed up back in the day. Do you remember the big first?
Yeah.
Our first static group. There's been about 3 or 4 goes at this. We all signed up. We all got on the epic story train.
Delivered pies.
We delivered pies around the Shire and posts and stuff. And then we got to the Shire is fantastic. Greetown is fantastic, and then you get to the Lone Lands, and you think, okay, well,
slows down a bit.
So then you get sent to the North Downs, an entirely made up and invented MMO style zone.
And that, you'd think that's ground to a halt,
Yeah.
but it really hasn't, because then you get to Moria, and then you discover what ground to the halt feels like.
I liked Moria. Well, yeah, but so the epic story so far. Okay, so I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sign up. I've subbed. I'm a VIP member. I'm paying effectively a subscription, because if one thing Lotro is terrible at is monetization, and there's so many pains in the arse put in front of you if you go at it as a free player. I've got this nightmare, because when it first came out it was a sub only, and we all subbed. Fair enough, that's what you do. Got the character so far up, and then they went all free to play, and it was but then they just went with this thing with, well, okay, now if you're free to play, you're only going to get the quests in the zones you bought the unlock packs for. So I got this shattered trail of half-assed zone purchases, that some of which I can do, some of which I can't do. There's bits of shared wardrobe and bank and shared inventory and houses and stuff that are all locked away behind, you've got to unlock them with tokens. And I thought, oh, for God's sake. So as a monetization strategy, it works very well, because they just irritated the hell out of me to the point where I thought, okay, I'm just going to pay monthly. Here's my card, get on with it. And there's still stuff I don't get for that. I don't actually automatically get content, the actual expansions. I still need to buy, I think, the Rohan one, and there's some sort of Helm's Deep, I think, is an expansion in itself. Then there's the Mordor one as well. So I'm about 3 expansions down. I think in my time I bought Moria, and I think we got Southern Mirkwood as well. That was, I think, when our fellowship fell apart the first time round. Then I did buy Isengard as well, because that just got so irritating going, because you can do the epic story for free, and you can go to into the places for free, but you just...
It's the awkward levels in between.
Yes, you can't earn anywhere near enough XP doing just the story, so you have to go. You can go away and just grind boars until your eyes bleed, or you can buy the quest packs and start doing hub-to-hub questing, not like a normal MMO. Yeah, so anyway, but I've taken it on as a kind of weird marathon. So I spent my week off pretty much putting in about 37.5 hours into Lotro. Instead of going into the office. I mean, it's paid holiday. I was being paid anyway, but yeah. So
just is this the thing you said that I'll be disappointed with you?
I thought you'd be cross. I didn't want to tell you.
Yeah,
but I have to sort of tell them. Yes.
I'm just wondering in case there was something else coming out. I needed to brace myself.
Some horrific secret. No, it's just that. Yeah. So over the course of a week, I got a brand new. I picked an elf. Well, the part of this was I thought that I have this sense that Lord of the Rings Online is on its last legs. Now, I mean, this is not borne up by
I've had that
news.
sense since after Moria, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I talked to quite a few people, Multi in particular. He's a fan of the Lotro and was sort of helping me through some of my self-destructive habits there. He thinks it's doing well. He thinks he's in, and he knows he's got his finger on the pulse a bit more. I mean, I listen in on Teppo and Jen on the 3 MMO Musketeers, and they talk about Lotro news quite often in there. And they're coming up with this big Northern Mirkwood expansion. But I just think if you've got the ring in the volcano and Mordor is done, what more is there?
Oh, there's loads. The interesting idea about Lord of the Rings is what happened after. How did the world recover?
Well, you could go on and on with the Fourth Age. I mean, perhaps you'll go out far east or far south.
The start of the Fourth Age is possibly the most interesting story in Lord of the Rings. They just never cover it.
The elves are on the way out. Well, I don't know.
Christopher Tolkien, no.
Well, there's umpteen unfinished tales, obviously, but I don't know. I just figured, where would you go from that? And I thought interest is likely to start winding down once you've got the lonely mountain, and once you've got Mordor.
What you're ignoring is the fact that Amazon are making a Lord of the Rings TV show. So therefore, interest to come up again, and so you've got a ready-made game with everything in there, so it's fine.
Oh, well, I don't know then. It could, anything could happen.
It's going to need a graphical update.
I sort of had the impression that it was, basically I thought I always wanted to see the whole epic stories set to its conclusion. It's the one USP that Lotro has that you couldn't get better in WoW or whatever, whatever MMO of choice. The thing Lotro has is the grand story, Lord of the Rings. And the epic story is so far general. Yeah, okay, it has its ups and downs, but on the whole, it's quite an interesting take on what else is happening at the same time. And you get to geek out a bit. Look, there's Frodo and everyone in the room at Rivendell, and there's Aragorn, and wow, Mirkwood. It's a big old geek out session for people who like Lord of the Rings, and that's what I am, one of those. But I thought to myself, okay, Lotro's doing fine now, but if I don't start the epic story now, it might not be around for me to finish. That was my thinking.
That's rather forward thinking of you.
It is, yeah, because I don't know how long it's going to take. It was a big, long job.
It was, yeah.
But I thought, well, okay.
And that was with 6 of us.
I want to see the entire story through to its conclusion. But at what point should I leave it until I start doing that before the game starts to get a bit rickety and then just suddenly not be there one month?
Everything's free now. We're shutting down in a month's time.
Well, I don't know. Perhaps I'm just being unduly pessimistic, but perhaps I'm being uncharacteristically foresighted, because this is going to be a really big job. It's quite an epic story. It takes a long time to do. So that was a week ago, and then I've had about a week or two of normal sort of here and there play as well. So after my end of my first week, I got a character. I picked an elf warden because that sort of fit my mood at the time. The elves are leaving Middle Earth, on last chance to go and do some good, that kind of thing. And I've done a warden because I'm quite interested with the Gambit gameplay, which essentially you only get 3 buttons, and it's the order in which you press them does various different effects and things. Compared to most of the other classes, which are just push button do thing. I think the minstrel's a bit more sort of tiered as well. You sort of build up to different stats,
you're building up
stage
stuff.
Things.
Yeah.
But the warden is essentially,
and avoiding heals, because
there's a couple of other buttons. Wardens get a run speed buff, out of combat run speed buff, and a whole ton of self teleports to various places around the world. So I thought this would be the perfect class, and they're fairly tanky. They've got reasonable DPS, and they can do a bit of self heal as well, and self sufficient. Good, let's go for it. So I got that warden from start. I started in Ered Luin at the beginning of my week. At the end of the week, I was level 45. I'd got to about Volume 1, book 7, I think, out of 15. Yeah. And I think I'd reached the northern end of Angmar. I thought, if this is going to work at all, I need to get the hell through the Lone Lands and the North Downs, because that's where it all is. That's where it all comes to an end. That's where you get fed up. That's where you get bored and walk away from it all. So once you pass there and into the Troll Shores and into Angmar and stuff, and Foragel as well, even dim. It all gets a bit more, I haven't seen this in a while, a bit more interesting. I can probably make it all the way through. And once I'm into Moria, I always loved Moria, personally. So yeah, that was my my week off. So I'm now level 50 after about 2.5 weeks. And that's where you get to with the Gift of the Valar, which they're currently selling on sale at the moment. Essentially, you can buy a jumpstart character to level 50, which is when Moria starts.
That was brought in with Moria, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of others that jumpstart you to other points along, because I think the top level is about 115 now, something like that. So yeah, I've got a long way to go. I've so far on about book 10 of volume 1, and I think there's about 5 or 6 volumes now, because I think volume 2 is Moria and onwards, and then there's a load more beyond that with Dunland and Isengard volume 3. So it is an immense task I set myself. I essentially want to complete an MMO.
Yes.
Which I don't think I've ever really done. I've got characters to max level before. I've never got a character to max level in Lothar. I think I did back when it was Moria, but
I did
keep moving the bloody goalposts. So that happens to be all the time in every MMO I play.
It's like time keeps moving.
You turn your back and they've added another 30 levels of 2 continents, and it's all old and busted, and you just think, what was that? And you learn to cultivate an attitude of, well, you can't take any of it with you, so none of it matters.
Yeah.
You don't get too attached to any of this stuff. I often hear people sort of complaining about, they're bringing an expansion out, all my raid gear is going to be useless. Well, yes. it's a metaphor or an allegory or something.
It's what you signed up for, and if you didn't know that's what you're signing up for, then sorry.
You have to hope that the time you spent obtaining all this gear was entertaining, because the memories of that is all you get to keep.
If the time you spend playing these games is not entertaining enough in its own right, don't play the game.
Don't play MMOs thinking it's going to be different and better when I get to the end game or the raiding or max level, or once I've got all my raid pieces or whatever. Because it will be briefly, and then it will change. But it's all transitory, and these are pastimes, games. You do them because you enjoy playing, presumably. And I've been guilty of putting in way too much time in things I don't enjoy on some imagined payoff in some distant time, and that never satisfies. It never comes. Got to enjoy the moment. Anyway, so I am enjoying the moment. Actually, I've decided to. I skipped the Shire specifically. I love the Shire, but
Shire's really good.
It is really good, but I will bog down in there. I know I try and do every quest, and no, just crack on, get on with the main story. Go and do some leveling if necessary when the story level gets a bit too high. Main story, keep going. And I'd forgotten. It's all right. It's all right. I remember it picks up, certainly. I mean, certainly the first half of Volume 1 is essentially you helping Aragorn and the Rangers out at various locations around the world as Gandalf and Aragorn try and get the hobbits safely to Rivendell. Then they sort of park and wait at Rivendell for a large portion of the sort of the second quarter of Volume 1, where you are basically... The problem with that is that Aragorn doesn't want to leave Rivendell until the north is secured, because obviously you got the threat of Sauron in the south, but the north is where Angmar, Shadows of Angmar, is the name of the first volume, and it's essentially the idea that there's a massive army of wrongdoers up north that are going to come down and pincer the free peoples, and unless that all gets dealt with and shut down and sorted by yours truly, it's not safe for the Fellowship to leave Rivendell and head south. So it sort of gives it a purpose and a reason, and so you end up doing quite a lot of stuff in the land of Angmar itself, and then there's a number of set piece instance battles against the steward of Angmar, because of course you're not allowed to kill the Witch King of Angmar, because that doesn't happen until much later.
That'd be awkward.
Yes, Eowyn does that with Merry's help, but you get this sort of lieutenant. There's quite a lot of ring wraith type creatures that no one ever mentioned in the books that you get to one off against quite a lot. They get red robes and things and spiky crowns and things. It's all very good. So there's a lot of that. Then there's this sort of the second half of Volume 1's a bit weaker, because it feels like make busy, because they obviously were working on Moria and hadn't got it ready yet. So the second half of Volume 1 is to do with this a creature called a Marthiel. He's some kind of ring wraith-esque, who's basically stealing a Palantir. There's a Palantir as well, There's a lot of stuff going on backwards and forwards there, and I'm hoping to get through that, because it wasn't great. Are there
multiple Palantirs, or
there was 7,
just one network?
I think, to begin with. 7 seeing stones. Was it 7 or 9? I don't know.
Is it all just one network?
They're essentially a network, I think. But they're all corrupt too, because Sauron got one and eviled it. Yes, but yeah. So I'm hoping to get through that and get on with the Moria stuff, because I remember that was quite interesting. You get to do the Watcher of the Lake and stuff. Basically, the Fellowship have already gone. You see them off at the start as a prologue, but then you get to go a little bit later into Moria itself. And what's the story is that the Fellowship have been through Moria, and then not long after, a large company of dwarves have decided to reclaim it from the western side.
Yeah,
and there's which gives you a little pretext for lots of little dwarf outposts.
Weird
everywhere.
Timing.
Yeah, little travel routes or goats and.
If I remember rightly, that's where it all started to fall to bits for us because of all the single-player stuff.
Well, yeah, you go through Moria, and then I think Lothlorien was a part of that as well, and you get a bit of gadding around in Lothlorien. There's not much happens in Lothlorien, it's more of a town hub.
But more specifically, in the quests that you had to do, the group quests, we keep sailing you into single-man instances.
Yeah.
Which, on your own, it's not as much of a problem.
Well, that's when they came on the idea of session play as well, which, as well as it being a single solo instance you can't bring your friends into, you're not even your own character.
Yeah, you're doing a bit from history, which I quite liked. I love that concept.
They're nice. They're a nice idea, but that's more of a single-player game thing, isn't it? And that way, yeah, exactly. And then by the time we got to, do you remember Southern Mirkwood? We did some of that.
Oh, yeah.
And the first like 4 books of Southern Mirkwood are just a complete succession of single-player phased instances as the elves of Lothlorien try and make a beachhead into Southern Mirkwood. It's a little bit Saving Private Ryan, I mean, most of it is the leftover, not appearing in this film, mini-ring wraiths that are still hanging around in Dol Guldur in the south of Mirkwood, which is where Sauron was during The Hobbit.
How do you even have a mini-ring wraith?
I don't know.
Doesn't being a ring wraith sort of mean one over the ring?
Well, presumably it's all hand waved that the ring wraiths can create lesser minions and so on, and that's sort of hinted at in the book as well, because that's what Frodo runs the risk of turning into after being stabbed by the thing. I don't know. Anyway, but there was just so much single player. No, you can't do this bit with your friends. No, you can't do this bit with your friends. And I don't even know what the end game dungeoning and raid content was. Presumably all the stuff around Dol Guldur itself. It's like they'd fallen into the trap of standard MMOism a bit, and there was tokens and raid sets and. Southern Mirkwood was a real sort of cul-de-sac, I think, because you didn't really get to. There was nothing to do with the Fellowship at all. They'd long gone to the south at that point. You reach Lothlorien and think, okay, now we're going to go down the river. No, you can't go down the river. You go across to attack the forest for like God knows how many volumes, and then you're told after that you have to go back across to Rivendell and head south with the Grey Company, a whole bunch of rangers who are going off to meet Aragorn in the wars in the south, and that all goes badly. And it's sort of. I don't know. It's like they felt that they were trapped by the story of Lord of the Rings in a way, but because on the one hand it is their big USP. Yeah, you can't do a Lord of the Rings MMO without showing Frodo and Sam and all the rest of it doing their thing. But on the other hand, that doesn't make for a very good group-based quest hubbing experience. No, it's always been an MMO that's been slightly torn by different directions, I think, and under different management throughout its history as well, different expansions. So yeah. But I've gotten far enough into it to gain enough momentum and inertia, and I'm looking forward to Moria because I did enjoy that. I'm not really looking forward to legendary item nonsense. Apparently that all so you get your legendary items at 50, and apparently somewhere around 90 or something, you do a thing and it becomes. The whole legendary item thing becomes irrelevant. They stop leveling up those, and you just get one that stays with you forever after that. Oh, good. Something. Yeah, so it makes me.
There was an awful lot of really, really powerful artifacts.
It was absurd. You get them for like every 5th or 6th drop would be a legendary item of the 3rd age, and you end up with this big sack of them taken to an NPC who throws them into a hopper, pulls one widget out the bottom, and says, "Right, that can make your existing weapon go up a beat."
It'd be a bit like Time Team, where Tony Robinson finds a bit of pot and says, "That's not as good as this bit we already have," and throws it away.
Yeah. Oh no, don't want Sting anymore. Don't want Anduril. I've got something better now. It's just made a mockery of the concept of a legendary item at all. Anyway, you'll be pleased to hear that it's actually armour now. At the top end, you have armour with slottable socket essences.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I'll see it when I get there, I suppose. But for me, as long as I've got basic solo viability, I just don't care. I'm there for the story. I'm going to follow the story to the end, or at least to Mordor. Perhaps, there'll be more. There'll be some stuff about Lake Town and all the rest of it. But I think once I reach Mordor and see the ring done in, I think I'll probably be done with it. Yeah. I may carry on and keep picking at it, but I've got a very specific purpose with this playthrough, and I really won't be back afterwards. You know? I mean, this is my, now it's all here. Now it's all ready. You looking at that map, that world map, you can go everywhere that's featured in the books now, except the Grey Havens, which doesn't seem to be in yet.
Is the Grey Havens ever going to be in?
Probably not.
That's not really a questing type
No,
area.
it sort of implies a finality, because that's where the elves go to leave Middle Earth. Yeah, that's an epilogue for the whole damn thing, really. You got Northern Mirkwood, which is going in. You got the Long Lake and Lonely Mountain, which are going in soon as the next expansion. And there's a bit more here and there, a few zones you could add, but you really are at this point. Now, after the next expansion, they're going to have to start just inventing whole new places. It'd be like Age of Conan or something with their Cathay expansion. You've got this just sudden whole. I mean, I think that probably was part of Conan's stuff, but the idea that in Lord of the Rings you've exhausted everything so extensively that you now have to just start adding entire sort of Chinese-themed other continent that just doesn't appear at all, or desert Arabian-themed desert countries far to the south and Harad and stuff.
Yeah.
You really are stretching it once you've done what they're proposing to do in the next expansion. I mean, there's nothing stopping them adding more and more zones if they like, but it just won't really be Lord of the Rings at that point. It'll be, I don't know what it'll be, but I'm not that interested. So I want to follow the epic story to the Fire Mountain, and then I'll see, but I'll probably be done. But that's going to take a long time. I mean, like I say, 2 weeks are pretty intense. Actually thinking about it, 2 weeks is quite fast. Thinking back how long it took us back in the day.
It took us.
But I did have to take one of those weeks off work, so So I have basically over the course of a fortnight got a Gift of the Valar the hard way round. I looked it up. The Gift of the Valar is £40. The Gift of the Valar.
So what's your?
My subscription, I spent half of a month's worth, and the month's about 10
Okay,
quid.
so what is your playtime per hour cost of?
I haven't done a cost-benefit analysis.
Because you could have skipped all that content.
I could have.
By paying a certain amount of
No,
money.
I wanted to. That was specifically, I want to follow the story through.
No, you just go into a game, you buy the max level character.
I could buy a max level and just come back and
stop.
one-hit everything,
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I've saved myself 40 quid by turning myself nearly insane. Honestly, I was dreaming about it. It was,
oh, God.
Yeah. You know, when you've played a game so much, you start to see it with your eyes closed. It was, I think I may have hurt myself a bit mentally again. But it wasn't as damaging as a starship in Star Trek Online. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it bad that I'm trying to to measure the kind of mental damage I can do to myself in different gameplay features?
Well, on one hand, it shows a certain amount of realisation about your situation.
I'm quite aware.
On the other hand, it shows a certain amount of not being able to learn.
I don't really. No, you're right. Now I come to explain this to someone else. Anyway, so I'm apparently playing Lord of the Rings. So it's not a static group. It's not a thing. It's not a night of the week. It is purely a personal madness. It's not Don Quixote like windmill fixation. But
is it one of those things that if you built it up into it and be anything important, it would evaporate like mist?
Well, I think.
Your desire for it would.
Well, the way I'm playing, I mean, Multi's been dipping in and keeping me company on some of it, and I think Nixoy's had a character as well. But I'm really not trying to make it a static group thing, because that is really a slow way to do it. We tried it in the past, and it took years to get anywhere. No, I'm really after the story, and then I'm done. We're not doing fellowship quests. We're not scouting, working faction bars or doing crafting much or anything like that. Just I'm there for a purpose, and I'm going to get it done. So we'll see how that goes anyway. And when to fit it all in with the rest of my normal gaming week.
I
just have to take a lot more holiday, I think.
That's one option.
I could have normal holidays like normal people in like places with hotels and stuff, but no, I just go to imaginary worlds in my spare time, stay at home. Why don't you talk about a thing?
I'm going to talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Okay, so I've seen and heard of this. Quite a big thing at the moment.
Many years ago, I backed it on Kickstarter and then completely forgot about it. And then I got an email saying, "Do you remember you backed this on Kickstarter? Here you go." And I thought, I better have a look at that.
Oh, right. Yeah, you backed quite a lot of things back in the day, didn't you?
Back when I was an idiot.
Well, you were just hopeful. You were supporting the industry.
Still waiting for some scenery for wargaming stuff. Anyway, I backed that years ago and it doesn't turn up. Post every so often though saying it's coming.
Okay, well, it's just disappeared.
Anyway, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a historically accurate, my ass.
That was the thing I'd heard about it all. Everyone on various magazines raving about how there's no wizards. It's like in Bohemia in the 14th century or something.
We'll get to that bollocks, shall we? Okay, right.
I like wizards.
It's set in, as you say, Poland or whatever. back
some real life place,
12 whatever or 11 whatever
in a real time period in history,
with realistic, real people and real events, real-ish events going on. You are the son of a blacksmith.
Oh right.
And
do you hear the call?
You wake up one morning and you have to go run some errands. And this is where the realism starts to break down, because you are a lazy, good-for-nothing teenager.
Yes.
A type of thing which didn't exist back then.
No. As soon as you were old enough to hold a hammer, you were hammering. You were hammering, yeah.
Yeah.
12-year-olds straight into full-time employment.
The commitment to realism lasts 0 seconds.
Oh, right.
One of the first missions, you end up with a bunch of other misfit teenagers throwing dung at a building. Something that back in real oldie times would have a massive punishment, and you would never do it because you have a massive punishment.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
So you end up doing a lot of menial quests to start with for your father, and then blah, blah, blah. Things escalate.
Yeah. They often do.
Now, the plot isn't that great. The writing is, I would say, bad 90s video game. It is awful. People speak in... They're trying to make it sound like they're speaking in olden ways, but what they're saying and how they're saying it is all just still idiotic writing. It's terribly written. The story itself, I have yet to engage with on any level that makes me want to find out what happens next, because nothing interesting's happened so far. The biggest problem with nothing interesting happening so far is that this is a kids' game.
Is it?
Yes, I've decided it is a kids' game. It is a game designed for kids.
I would imagine a game that's set in the brutal horrors of the 100 Years' War or whatever would be quite 18ish.
It's a game designed for kids.
Yeah.
How do you think you save?
A save menu somewhere?
You can sleep.
Yeah.
If it's a sleeping type time and you have a bed.
Okay.
Or you can use a potion to save.
Potion to save?
You have to create a potion to save. Which is why I say it's a kids' game. It is designed for people who don't have lives. It is designed for people who don't need to do other things with their life. They're able to just spend 12 hours in a session and play it. It's designed for students.
Setting itself out to be a really hardcore experience, hardcore gaming, as it were?
Yes, it wants to be a hardcore gaming experience so badly.
Yeah.
It's not. The combat's far too easy, and I'll get onto the combat in a second as to why that's not a hardcore experience. Yeah.
But the idea of no save points.
If you want to play it on PC, you can mod it out.
There are mods for that. Oh, right.
Do not play it on console because you can't. And if you have any kind of life, you will not get on with it.
So what's the minimum sort of play session, do you think, then? You'd have to wait for an in-game day to take place before you can sleep, and that's what?
I'm finding it's hours.
It's a couple of hours before you could feasibly save and go away.
I can't just drop in and do an hour's gameplay really realistically.
Can't
and
do
it took
an hour.
so long to get past the first bit, because it took so long to get to a point where it could save, that it was just a pain in the ass.
I sort of appreciate their commitment to ultra-realism.
No,
it's not, like people who...
It's not a commitment to ultra-realism. It's a commitment to being an arse.
Well...
It's just being... Oh, that's the other thing.
Design decision.
No, if you're going to do that, you have to damn well make sure your game does not crash constantly.
Well, that's the other side, yes.
It is incompetently written if that is their plan. Like, terribly incompetent.
Very sure it's not just going to suddenly disappear, yeah. See, save games inoculate you against crash to desktop somewhat, because you can get into a habit of auto-saving every 15 minutes or something.
Yeah. So that really annoyed me.
Okay.
And that alone is enough reason do not buy this game anyway.
Wow.
Just do not buy this game.
Okay.
Combat.
Yeah.
Do you remember Die by the Sword?
Oh, my God, yeah. That's 90s game where... You had to basically do actual sword swings with a kind of weird mouse combination.
Or you could use the keypad. If you went
literally
from
moved your
top
arm
right
about.
To bottom right, and then you just do a slash.
It wasn't just left click to swing or right click to block. You had to actually move the sword about.
I was playing it again yesterday. It does actually work reasonably well.
Okay.
Better than Kingdom Come Deliverance's dumbed down version.
It tries to do something similar.
Yeah, it has a relatively similar type thing, but it's more directional based.
Yeah.
It's just a dumbed down version of that, which, just like... Well, Die by the Sword almost got the feeling of sword fighting. Almost.
Yeah.
Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't come close to how.
Mind you, a lot of people get sword fighting and sword fighting mixed up because they assume when you watch sword fighting on films, Errol Flynn stuff, you're not trying. These people aren't trying to stab each other; they're trying to hit each other's swords.
Yeah,
clang, 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 clang. Yeah, fine.
It plays like I've done this sword fighting. I know what it's like.
Theatrical sword
It
fighting.
plays like stomp,
Yeah.
slow, methodical swings.
Swords are heavy. Yeah.
But sword fighting isn't like that.
No.
Even if you're in full armour, sword fighting just isn't like that. It's about anticipating what the person in front of you is doing and reacting, and it just does not capture sword fighting. And what they've ended up with is a system which I don't think pleases anybody. If you want that, I want to have full control of my swings, go back play Die by the Sword. That is a much better system.
You can probably find it on GOG or
Yeah,
wherever.
it's on GOG.
Yeah.
It's £7 on GOG.
I never got my head around Die by the Sword, but I appreciated how clever it was.
It seems a lot more playable now than it was when I played it first time. I don't know
rates,
why.
I guess.
It's still not great because who wants that? Just play The Witcher instead if you want that kind. Want to have.
I typically want my character to know how to manipulate their own body and use their weapons. I just want to direct the character into doing, attack that person. I don't really want to literally move the sword physically. That's a bit too micromanagement.
The combat does not work. It does not feel right. It is slow, cumbersome, too easy. Again,
ranged combat options, crossbows.
Yeah,
or whatever?
crossbows. You don't get you. Oh, again, there's a command to give it the targeting reticle because they turn that off. It's hardcore.
Oh wow, it doesn't have any reticles, right?
Yeah, there's something. If this is a hardcore game, make it harder.
Do you have like hunger bars and that kind of thing? Is it survival sandbox type?
Well, it's
mechanics?
not. Well, yeah, actually, it's reasonably. It's not as bad as a survival sandbox game, but it's got that kind of smell to it.
Yeah.
You're not recovering health normally. You need to eat to recover. You need to sleep, and you just.
Well, I suppose if there's no magic healing available,
You
then
say there's no magic.
no
There's alchemy.
alchemy.
You know how in Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings Online, how they got around there being no magic?
They didn't.
Inspirational songs.
It's all morale.
Lawmaster.
Everything in Lord of the Rings Online is morale. You don't have health, you have morale. So as you take hits in combat, you don't actually get damaged, but your will to carry on
And how
goes down.
was it the Lawmaster? How did he work?
Lawmaster, he did all sorts of things with herbs and setting fire to pine cones and throwing them at people. And
was it
there
all
an
functionally magic?
Animal pets and stuff. More or less.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Runekeeper came along, that just blew the whole thing out of the water anyway. But
the Runekeeper.
Runekeeper, magic rocks.
Yeah, anyway, this basically, the bits it wants to have magic has magic through alchemy. Because, realism.
See, I mean, if their big selling point is, 14th century history, you can go and be a proper serf and throw dung at a building and stuff and have to sleep to save. And then you've got potions and magic, essentially alchemy potions. That's not real. That didn't happen. I don't think.
No.
It seems like a bit of a get out, really.
The big problem I had all the way through it is, and anyway, this is the major problem. Every single second of gameplay, I'm thinking The Witcher 3 looks better. The Witcher 3 is better written. The Witcher 3 has better gameplay. The Witcher 3 has better combat. Witcher 3 would have let me save there. Witcher 3 would not have crashed there.
Witcher 3 doesn't mind if I've only got half an hour to spare to play tonight.
Witcher 3, I don't mind sinking 12 hours into it and not sleeping because I'm doing that because of my choice.
I see.
Or more importantly, I would end up having realised I played for 12 hours.
Is this an indie game?
Technically, yeah.
Because you say you got it as a Kickstart thing.
Oh, we got a publisher in the end. I forget who it is.
Is it a resource thing? The Witcher 3 is simply better because it's a much bigger deal, much more.
Well, no,
time and
I don't believe that because an awful lot of effort's gone into this game. You can't fault the game on the amount of effort that's gone into it. It's big, it's vast, it has systems. There's a lovely large world map. There's lots and lots of things to look at. It's the way it's designed that causes the problems. It's design decisions, not resources.
Okay.
In fact, I'd say some of the design decisions are probably took longer to implement than doing it another way.
Okay.
Especially the combat.
So, and what's the overall sort of objective, the purpose of this? Is there some big story you're trying to get to the end of, or is it?
Yeah,
I don't know why, but I get it's a bit like an Ark vibe from it. Here's a fantastic world. Go play.
Not really. No, there is. There is a plot.
Bit more structured.
You get swept up in the plot. I haven't got too far into the plot yet because I keep losing the will to live while playing it.
It's not a good sign.
You know the problem with the plot?
The
plot brings cutscenes.
Cutscenes, they're not very realistic. They didn't have cutscenes.
You've got people
in
talking on the
14th
plot. When you're wandering through the woods, no one talking. Brilliant. Like it. It's just woods. Really nice.
Okay. Well,
When
yeah.
people start talking and plotting and plotterizing,
Yeah.
that's where I get really annoyed at the plotting.
Oh,
and
I
the
see. So
plotterizing
you'd rather it was
and
more
the
of a
talking.
sandbox roam
Well,
thing.
no, I'd rather the plot wasn't so badly acted and so badly written.
Oh, what's the voice acting like?
Some of it's okay.
Yeah.
Some of it is, oh God, it's awful.
Fair enough.
At its best, it's really good.
Okay.
At its worst, it is laughable.
It sounds like quite a mixed bag, but on the whole, sounds like you're having trouble.
Yeah, no, I know. Keep going with it, but it's a game I know I'm never going to finish.
Is it worth a 3-month rule? Is it? I mean, the quality issues.
It won't get better. The crashes may go away,
Yeah.
but the actual game itself, I don't see getting better unless they change systems.
So what you see the way they've designed it fundamentally is
Yeah.
part of the main problem.
Yeah.
And that there's not
There-
really it's unlikely to see a major patch suddenly rewrite how that
Yeah,
works.
the combat system's not going to be made enjoyable
Yeah.
or better or
And you said there's mods. So there's a mod scene for it already.
on PC. Yeah, within hours, people have done stuff like fix the save game.
God. Well, that's perhaps a hopeful thing. Then you shouldn't have to be modding the thing out of the box.
I know they're going to ban that mod. They're going to do something to stop it working. I've just got that feeling it's against their way of it being played. So
Ethos.
they're going to, it's against their ethos. So that's going to get stomped on.
Because a smart move would be to just take those mods and work them into the main code.
Yeah.
You know, someone's done the hard work of fixing this stuff for you. Then throw them an acknowledgement or something, merge it all in. I don't know.
Annoyingly, it sold over 1 million copies.
Well, yeah. See, I only heard of it through sort of headlines in gaming websites and stuff, and everyone I've seen so far seems mad about it. Is
know.
that just a preview thing?
I don't know. I don't get it.
Or is
Are we
there
playing the same game?
is there a move out there? Oh, games are far too easy. Is that the mood these
It's
days?
not
at the moment?
hard. The game is easy.
It sounds difficult if you're not allowed to save for 12 hours.
It's got things that it's thrown
I
in
gotta
to
go to
make
work
it
and
harder.
things. Yeah.
But the combat's easy.
Oh, fair enough. I don't know. Oh, okay. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I take your opinion though. You've played it.
Yeah.
I know what you like.
If you're going to play it, wait if it comes on a sale in a year to be really cheap, because I reckon.
It sounds like you definitely want to wait a couple of weeks for some 1.1
I don't think
patches
this
and
game's going to
whatever.
have any legs at all in sales.
Yeah.
I think that everyone who was going to buy it has bought it, mainly because it was a quiet couple of weeks when it came out. I think that helped
I suppose that,
quite a lot.
timing and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, don't like it.
Interesting. Okay. So in general, you'd recommend Die by the Sword or Witcher 3?
Yeah, Witcher 3 and Die by the Sword.
I still need to play Witcher 3, yeah. I can't play Witcher 3 until I finish Witcher 2.
You don't need
it's
to play,
the law.
You don't need to finish Witcher 2.
I
Play
do,
Witcher
and I'm
3.
stuck on some bullshit boss fight where he keeps stun-locking me.
Play Witcher 3. It doesn't have that rubbish.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, Witcher 2 was a very console experience.
Witcher 3 is the best game ever made that isn't Burnout.
Okay, good. I'm going to talk about Secret World Legends.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's the Monday game. We've finished with Path of Exile and we picked up Secret World Legends instead, and we're playing that. So we have played Secret World. I may even have talked about it on the show probably
Repeatedly.
in the past. Yeah. So Secret World Legends is their big, massive. Oh God, we need to do something reboot. Or rework, and it is fairly substantially reworked. So what you've got there is they've basically redesigned a lot of how the combat systems and skill points and training and stats and equipment all work, but they've kept the backstory, plot setting, voice acting, cutscenes and all that sort of thing. So, and I think that's probably a smart move, because they obviously put a lot of work into the voice acting and the world design and the backstory and all that sort of stuff, quest design, and some of the investigation missions are fantastic stuff. And as far as I can tell, they're all still there. So what they've done is they've taken out a lot of the normal hotkey combat, which was a weird old thing that was very much reminiscent of Guild Wars 1. You had a 7 hotkey bar that you bought and unlocked skills using experience to do a lot of theory craft on a sort of dual weapon set of abilities on a hotbar, and use the hotbar on the monsters, do skills to cause damage, all that. But it was always a very obtuse sort of thing. It was very, I don't know, I mean, I've seen a lot of people say dumbing down with Secret World Legends, and they're right, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I did give it a go, I played a fair bit, and the original system it's like they sort of tried to copy Guild Wars 1, but didn't quite get it. It didn't click for some reason. I love Guild Wars, but I never really got it with Secret World. So, yeah. So you'd earn your XP, you'd pay points to unlock skills, and it was this massive sort of inner and outer wheel of skills, some of which cost like 1 or 2 skill points to unlock, and some of which cost 50 points to unlock, and you earn these skill points at certain XP levels. So you have to keep grinding out quests to try and open access to things on this wheel. And it was really, I suppose, powerful if you knew the cookie cutter builds the ins and outs of it. But if you didn't know what you were doing, it was really easy to make an absolutely broken character. And I wonder if that was a reason people didn't like it or it put people off. I'm not sure it happened to me specifically, but I was never really, following the cookie cutter builds particularly. So I was just, winging it and, muddled through as best I can. But it was hard work. They had this really weird and obtuse system of monster identifications as well. It's like, it's one of these, we don't want to use numbers, that's immersion breaking. It's like, oh, for God's sake, just give us the numbers. We can make our own immersion up. So, all the monsters had different coloured pips over their heads. They're like, you could have a single pip or 3 little pips in a row, in a group, or sometimes it was a skull. Sometimes there'll be a skull with a crown, or with a flag, with 1 pip or 3 pips, and some of them are different colours pips as well.
Which one meant that it was coming into port?
I don't know. Yeah, I know. It was just insane, weird combination of symbols and colours, which meant you just had no real idea if you ought to be able to kill the thing you're attacking. That's all gone now. It's numbers.
Okay.
Yay, we like numbers. And they've gotten rid of all the equipment and stuff. Well, the equipment's there, but that's all different now. Previously, you had this really useless arcane crafting system where you had to put different types of dust and runes into a special shape on a grid and push combine, and it might make a thing. That's all gone now. Good, because you ended up with a bank full of dust and runes and all sorts of widgets and crafting nonsense. That's all gone. Now what you do is you can upgrade existing items by shoveling other loot into them. So basically, if you've got a pair of pistols and you loot some other pistols, you put the
hammer a pistol down the muzzle.
Yes, basically, you put the first pistols in the grid, you put the other pistols in the hopper, push the button, bing, your original pistols go up in level.
Okay,
it means you keep good. You can keep good gear that you like, and just shovel all the other item reward loot into it as it goes, and it increases in power. The weapons and equipment all have a number on them as well now, which is good. And a series of pips, which I'm still trying to get the hang of. I think the pips are rarity, maybe. You have a class, character level, and all that sort of stuff. Now you pick a class at the start instead of here's about 500 skills. Go crazy, make your own class up. Okay, well, some people might like that, but a lot of people like a bit more structure than that. So I picked a trickster, which gets the chaos, focus, and the pistols to start with, and then your skill window is now a talent tree with the 3 lines.
Oh, nice.
Well, yes. I don't know. Some people think that is the obvious World of Warcraft dumbing down, but remember, World of Warcraft is popular because a lot of what it does works.
Yes.
So yeah, what you get now is they've reorganised all the skills into trees, and I could immediately spot which tree was the tanking tree. So based on the chaos focus, causes a lot of hate. Yeah. So you just buy the skills up in each line on the tree.
Can you mix a match?
Well, your class gives you 2 weapons, and they have two trees, 3 lines in each. But I've just focused on the chaos focus. I've focused on the tanking tree, and I was able to build my character into a tank that was eminently capable of tanking the first 2 dungeons with no problems whatsoever, knowing what I'm doing, and it was just so much more convenient and easy to work out what you're doing now. It's great. Once you've finished all those trees and lines on the starter character, then it unlocks now you know how to play and know what you're doing a bit. You can start buying points in other skill trees.
Yeah.
And, all the old school theory craft is there and is accessible, but it will take you like 20 levels or so to be able to get to the point where you can start unlocking some of that more advanced functionality. And I think that probably is needed. It probably is a good decision. The actual individual weapons it's all different now on the hotkeys. You've got 1, 2, and 3. I think it's like 4. From the original, because it was 1 to 7, and that was it. You tab and use your number buttons. Now 2 of those have moved over onto the mouse, so you can map the builder abilities map any ability onto left and right mouse.
Yeah.
So you use your keypad to move around and left and right mouse to actually attack. So it feels just that simple expedient of not having to use your mouse to click on an enemy and then use the number keys to do the attacks. You just point reticle. It's all sort of first-person aiming reticle stuff, and left and right mouse to do basic attacks or whichever attacks you've mapped to it, which is a simple trick, but it does suddenly give it a lot more of an action-y feel.
Yeah.
It does feel like more of an action-adventure game than a standard MMO. You're all standing 10 feet away in a field waving hands at each other whilst work through the little clocks on the number keys. That seems to have been massively at least hidden by just mapping a lot more of it to the mouse and getting rid of a lot of unnecessary cooldowns on some of the abilities. You can really just go at it now, and it feels a lot more fluid, feels a lot more dynamic and enjoyable. I think you feel a lot more badass. You feel a lot more doing action, which is good. I think that these are good improvements. Each of the weapons has now got some sort of mechanic gimmick thing with it now. So with the Chaos Focus, every time you use certain attacks, you build up a point on this paradox meter, and when it hits 8, a sudden beneficial major effect goes off. With the guns, the pistols, there's 2 little barrel chambers, and they spin every time you fire, and when they both line up on the right colours, you get a bonus or something.
Okay.
So each of the each of the different weapon sets has a different kind of mechanic. I think the Blood Focus, you can move it into purity or corruption. It goes up and down a bit like the Runekeeper's stance thing. I don't know what all the others do. I think there's some sort of hate charge up mechanic for the hammers. So it looks like they've tried to give the very basic business of using your number 1 builder attack another dimension, something interesting to going on. So it all sort of contributes to make the basic business of getting on and getting involved in the world, which always was a really detailed and intricate and interesting world, a lot more sort of transparent, and you can get straight to it. You're not constantly fighting off a massive skill wheel or trying to understand what passive abilities to use when. They've completely gotten rid of skill rankings in weapons and in talismans as well, which was always weird. You earned the action points which you spent on the skills, and you earned these other points you spent on increasing your ability scores. And there was never any reason not to max out all of your talismans and the primary and secondary weapon you use. So there's a whole mechanic there which is based on giving you skill points which you then need to spend correctly or you fail. There was,
Genius.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you couldn't use certain defense because the talismans take the function in Secret World as armor in other games. You don't actually have armor in Secret World. It's all talismans, jewelry, and so on. But occult stuff. But in no other MMO do I remember there being a 1 to 10 rank of ability to use your armor, which you then need to spend points that you've earned through earning experience in. Otherwise,
it is an interesting idea.
It's a stupid idea, and that seems to have gone away now. Your talismans are your talismans. You wear them, you get on with it. Some of them are level locked now, and I can understand why you do that. But there was never. I mean, the original Secret World gave you a lot of fancy dandy mechanics, most of which served the purpose of creating a correct way to do it and lots of wrong ways to do it. And that seems they've really sort of cut down on that. And if that's dumbing down, then fine. I mean, I quit the original Secret World. I'm quite enjoying Secret World Legends, so go figure.
Yeah.
And I don't know what in terms
from a sample size of 1, that's a good.
Yes, 100% better, I think. But I don't know in terms of population stuff. They've done some streamlining as well. There's a lot less of the little side quests in the obscure places, and the side quests that are there seem to be much more in the nature of, you've finished your main quest. Here is a small quest that will take you to the next place where a main quest is. That kind of sort of signpost type questing, just to keep you moving through it, which is it's good.
Good for that.
The original main story, it seems to be there and intact. Dawning of an Endless Night on Solomon Island, the business where you're following the strange sword and the elusive Beaumont around the island, trying to work out what the hell's going on, why there's zombies everywhere. That's all seems to be there. I mean, most of the characters and voice acting seem to still be there, as far as I can tell, and those were really good. I enjoyed those. They were mostly cutscenes where you would stand mute in the background, listening to some local eccentric character going off on one and having some sort of little monologue reflective moment, and I quite like the style of that. It was a real departure from the "Greetings, good adventurer, I would require 10 bear asses, you may find them in the cave yonder." I mean, often these people you meet are not even talking to you, they're just musing about what the hell's going on. So and sometimes they don't even give you an actual quest, they're just yattering away, and then you imply something and go off and do it. The voice acting was always very good. The characterisation and writing for those were very good. I always enjoyed those. The investigation missions seem to still be there, and the solutions are all the same still.
Those were one of the highlights.
Yeah, they were very good. I enjoyed those a lot. But obviously they didn't really need much work redoing them. It's like the game really shone on its backstory. There was very little in the way of contemporary weirdness MMOs out there, contemporary occult stuff, Illuminatis and Templars and all that, modern day settings and so on. But you still got your Solomon Island, New Hampshire, you still got the Egypt bits. I never got past Egypt. I think Transylvania's still there, and then Tokyo for the last bit. That's all still there. Argatha, which is the sort of world tree, interdimensional, travel fast around the world type place, that's been redesigned to be more of a hub rather than a great linear thing you you can get lost in.
Okay.
And they've moved a lot of the banking and auction house and shops and stuff into there. It was always really odd in that you had 3 different cities that had the 3 different factions in. There was like Seoul, where the dragons start, and then there's New York, where the Illuminati, and London for the Templars. And only London had all the shops and goods and services, and banks and post offices and everything.
How it should be.
Well, quite, yeah. But there was like just nothing in Seoul and very little in New York at all. So there was never any reason to go there apart from your, faction handlers and stuff. But they've moved a lot of that. Well, that stuff all still exists in London, but it's all there in Agartha now as well, the main hub where everyone goes through. Much more centralised, much more convenient to get straight to the action. It's like that's what they've done with this whole Secret World Legends thing. It is a kind of Secret World 2.0, but all of the content and quests and missions and backstory and stuff, which were the good parts, I thought, of the original game, are still there. And they've just totally, taken a real brutal scalpel to a lot of the mechanical dross that the original game really bogged down in. And it's very difficult to make, character crippling wrong choices now. It's quite difficult to get lost in the UI or not understand what's going on or how any of these points work, or suddenly having to deal with 300 different grades of piles of dust and runes in your crafting materials and all that nonsense. That's all gone. And I think it is a dumbing down, but then not dumbing down isn't necessarily a bad thing in every case.
I'm all for dumbing down.
You can call it dumbing down, you can call it streamlining. And I think
getting it right.
I think it's a much needed streamlining.
Complex does not always.
I mean, if
better.
you never liked the basic setting and premise, then none of that's really changed. So, but if you found yourself lost with the skill wheel and not really digging how the basic feel of MMO hotkey combat worked in there, then it definitely is worth another look now. It seems to really have improved a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily gotten easier or whether we're just we're using 5 people to do solo content like we often do. That tends to. I have trouble landing hits on stuff because there's so much crazy AoE going on in our little team that all the yard trash has just been blasted completely.
Hello do tend to have explosions following them everywhere.
Plan A. Plan A, if for those of the uninitiated, is basically drop lots of AoE on it until it stops being a problem. And we don't have a plan B generally. So we've I think we're on to Savage Coast now, which is the second Solomon Island zone, and we rattled through the first zone very quickly indeed. We've only had about two or three sessions so far, and Blue Mountain and Savage Coast are where it really bogs down usually, and you've got the Akabs, these really irritating moth-type bat things that live in the forest and have a charge attack that's just really irritating. Yeah. We can wade through those with impunity now, so that's good. We're sort of cracking through the story, and I think we'll get well into Egypt this time, possibly even get to Transylvania. I don't know, we'll have to see. The dungeons are interesting. We've done the first one. So dungeon number 1 in this game, you get to punch Cthulhu out.
Yay!
Cthulhu is the end boss, and you do fight him. I was tanking Cthulhu.
That does seem to be a rather...
I know. Dungeon 2, you go to hell to fight the devil.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dungeon 3 was...
So how do they step it up to...
I don't know. Dungeon 3, we had a go at, and it was just some boring thing with skeleton zombies on a beach.
Is it like that episode of Buffy where she deals with Dracula a bit easily?
I know. I don't know how many more dungeons there are in there, but we only ever saw the 3, and the third one was so awful that it broke our group and we quit the game after that. So, but we did really well this time round compared to how it went previously. I think mostly due to an understanding of what the hell our characters are set up to do and how to use our skills and abilities, which was just all over the place last time. Last time, I think we only finished the Hell Dungeon because 3 of us were dead, and I think Wish and Welsh Troll both had some kind of gimmicky blood magic build that had them sort of chain healing each other, and they just sort of kited the boss around for about half an hour while we lied dead there. But now I was tanking, I think Teppo was on the healing, and some 3 DPSing going on there, and it just worked really well. We all knew what we were doing, and it worked well. And despite all of these bosses having some quite intricate dance and gimmickry to them, that hasn't really changed. But we were able to work out what we were supposed to do, where to stand when, and our skills and abilities were reliable enough and intuitive enough that we could just crack on and get it done. So, which was a far cry from our previous go-through. I think Secret World Legends is a much better game now. I mean, if you never liked the basic thing at all, then it's probably not going to be any better for you. But if it was more about the implementation, then I think this revised version gets a lot of things better, certainly, if not actually right. Then so possibly worth a look. Yeah. Cool. You want to talk about thing or?
Oh, I can talk briefly about something because you left me 3 minutes. 2 minutes. Rise of Industry.
You lose. Rise of Industry.
I went into early access. I was playing our original Alpha E build, which I got on itch.io a while back. Now it's on Steam in early access, so I got a key for that automatically. Yes, it's a lot more expanded. If it's a game where you basically, bit like Transport Tycoon, but you're putting down different buildings, doing chains or stuff. Put water into farm, fruit into making beer into shops, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so it's gone into early access. It's had some changes, and I'm not entirely keen. I like them. I played the career campaign-y type mode, which is the one we have to unlock stuff to be able to use it. So you start off with, there's a couple of different pages of technologies, and you get 1 point for each page, except for one page, which you can use to have 2 points. So you start off with, I'm going to have the ability to get water. Good first start. I'm going to have the ability to have farms. Good first start.
Yep.
On have the ability to make a food factory. Okay, that's probably not a good first start because I can't do anything like that yet. And I have the ability to make roads and distribution centres and stuff.
Yeah.
And what happens is you start down by putting down a water thing. You put down a farm thing.
Yeah.
You send water from the water thing to the farm thing. You tell the farm thing to make the only thing at the start you can make, which will be fruit. And so that starts growing fruit. And then you tell the farm thing to deliver the fruit to the nearest town and sell it for a profit.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you get XP on each of these different pages by doing. So, collecting water, shipping it to the farm, that will give you XP for your for that one, for your gathering skills.
Okay.
Growing fruit it gives you XP for the whatever farming one, I forgot what it's called. And then those will start ticking up. Now you think, right, I've got one farm there, it's maxed out, it's sitting there, there's a lot of extra capacity at that shop, I'm going to put another farm down. And that's where you discover that you can only send water from your massive water processing plant to one farm. Without unlocking more things. And
water tankers
I haven't managed to find a good way of doing it without getting a warehouse distribution system, which means ramping up the distribution XP to the second tier. And so immediately,
sounds quite unnecessary.
So immediately your game grinds to a halt. You have the choice of, okay, I can get to the other side of the map and do exactly the same thing over there. Not the corner,
keep doing the same thing again until you got enough XP.
Yeah, but you're waiting on XP too much, and that's where the current design of the game falls down for me.
That sounds like a mobile game. It sounds like a spend coins to hurry this up type mechanic.
Actually, yeah, I could see that. If I don't suspect they're going to add anything like that, but that would be one way to fix it, not a good way. Yeah. I can see it being changed. It just needs some balancing. It needs being to make a more cohesive chain earlier. What they really need to do is cut down the amount of cash out at the start to very small, because you start off with way too much cash, get rid of all the XP thing, and just let you build everything from the start.
Sounds like they're trying to add a narrative structure to a sandbox experience.
Just use cash as the limiting factor, I reckon. I think that'll probably work. I could be completely wrong. So, you want to build 16 farms, you can't afford it.
Does it have a free play mode?
It does have a free play mode,
where everything's unlocked.
The free play mode is a lot more fun.
It sounds like the campaign's just not that great then.
It's a design decision on the campaign, which I'm sure will get changed because I don't like it. And I've moaned about it on the internet, so now it'll get changed.
You have that power.
I have that power.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's still fun in a kind of way, but it still has that. I have the problem at the moment with a lot of games where I'm thinking this is just eating up time and I'm not actually getting anywhere.
That's fundamentally what games are for.
I know.
As long as you're enjoying that eating up of time.
Yeah.
Or if you could be enjoying yourself doing something different, then do that instead.
Yeah, well, the problem there is I'm thinking there's a lot of other stuff I could be doing, and I'm actually making a lot of progress with my Federation rank at the moment, so I should be doing that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah. That's okay.
Right. So, what did you learn this week?
I learned that I can stream from my Spectrum to Twitch.
Okay. I learned what octopus tastes like.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you cook it?
No, the tapas place we went to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they had octopus
We've
in ink as well.
Have you really
ink
never
sauce.
had octopus before?
No, it's like squid, but more dense.
Do you know that Brian Cox won't eat octopus?
Really?
No, he did a piece where he had to go see octopi.
And did he get attached?
No, he decided that they were far too intelligent.
Oh, really?
And so he no longer eats them. So you're a monster.
I'm a monster.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, if you go on to Had a Better Time, you can see all of our stuff and links to YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Goodbye.